This week, I'm in La Vieille-Capitale, Quebec City.
It's not a subtle flavour, is it?
5 restaurants are competing for my $1 million review.
It's still alive.
So am I.
Posh or not, they're all contenders.
I think it tastes like death.
But only one will win.
Is this a viable business, or are you just having fun?
Who's in?
Actually, this boy can really cook.
And who's out?
What the hell's that?
I'm Giles Coren. As restaurant critic for the London Times, I've become the most powerful critic in Europe. Restaurant owners fear me because a bad review from me could shut them down. But a good one could bump up their profits by $1 million. With my researcher, Julia, I'm in North America looking for restaurants worthy of my review, which could change their business and lives forever. This week, I'm in Quebec City, a 400-year-old fortress on the edge of the known world, where I hear the locals are into grilled seal, raw elk, and something even scarier they call poutine. I'm hoping that Quebecois food is a new kind of French cuisine, and not a boring old creamy, snaily, froggy sort of thing. So what exactly am I looking for? Most boring, pompous food critics will tell you that there are 3 things that matter: food, atmosphere, and service. But my readers deserve much more than that. I'm looking for an exceptional eating experience, and I don't care if it's the most expensive restaurant in town or a hole in the wall serving up the one incredible dish. But I can't eat everywhere, so my researcher, Julia, has narrowed down the city's food scene to 5 restaurants that are doing amazing things. Then I decide which one deserves my $1 million review. But Julia couldn't make it to Quebec City, so I'm feeling a bit lost.
Hey Giles, how's Quebec City?
It's cold, Julia. It's very, very cold, and I'm confused and lonely. You're supposed to be my assistant, and you're not assisting me. If I'm choosing the restaurants, what are you doing?
Okay, don't worry. I've done all the research. I've narrowed it down to 5 final restaurants that you're going to be going to.
And how am I going to do that?
Well, I've asked a Quebec City food blogger to help you, and his name is Patrice Plante.
I've literally never been to Quebec. What am I going to find? What's the general restaurant scene? Have you got a restaurant scene here?
Yeah, we've got a restaurant scene, but it's really young.
Heaving Quebec into the modern world, then?
In the modern world,
Because what I see around me is basically snow and ice, and I just want something hot, you know?
When you live in these kinds of area, you need comfort food.
It looks tiny bit touristy. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It looks like a ski resort. Is there real, authentic food that Canadians eat?
The Quebec scene here, from a culinary point of view, try to take inspiration from cuisine from Asia, cuisine from France, and cuisine from our English side.
So it's a fusion cuisine?
It's a fusion cuisine, totally.
Patrice sends me off on my Quebec City food journey with the names and addresses of the 5 restaurants Julia has picked. My first stop is Hosakuya in Saint-Roch, a hip young neighbourhood outside the tourist zone. If Quebec City is all about fusion cuisine, as Patrice says, then this ramen house is the perfect place to start. Hosakuya is a bona fide family joint run by 3 devoted Japanese Quebecois brothers cooking their mother's favourite recipes.
It's been only 1 year we're open, and we need more people. All the ramen places in Japan have a lineup outside. If there's no lineup outside, you don't go there. You don't go there. So if one day we had a lineup outside, it's my dream. And I think a review from Giles could bring us a lineup.
Aha! Konnichiwa. Boku no namae wa Giles desu. That's the only Japanese I know.
If Hosakuya wants a queue of people stretching around the block, step 1 is to impress me. At first glance, it all looks pretty authentic, but looks aren't everything. The key to a good ramen noodle soup is the stock.
Is that 3 different stocks, or are they all the same?
It's the same.
And what's in there?
Pork bones, chicken bones, a lot of love, and a lot of vegetables.
Do you cook it for a long, long time, or not?
It's about like 5 or 6 hours.
Sounds like Mummy taught her boys well, and she's here at the restaurant to make sure they honour her teachings.
So apart from ramen, what's the best thing you do?
Everything. Everything. Noodle,
You have to not say everything. You have to have an answer.
No one is good at everything, so lie about one.
Gyoza, it's one of my biggest problems. Yeah.
Great, and I love gyoza, so...
Miso ramen. Miso ramen also.
And also ramen.
And the mom's kimchi too is pretty good.
The mum's kimchi?
Yeah.
Is it just the pickles?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I have some of those on the side?
Of course.
So I've ordered a bowl of miso ramen, some gyoza dumplings, their mother's kimchi pickles, and a cup of cold, unfiltered sake.
Hi, kimchi.
Thank you. I'll just try the pickles anyway.
Unpop the chopsticks from their little paper condom, and off we go.
Oh, that's good kimchi. That's strong, back of the throat.
Of course.
The red kimchi, yeah. So the kimchi is originally, it's Korean, isn't it?
It's Korean, but everybody eats it in Japan, and my mother makes the best kimchi of the world. Even our Korean friends, they all say, I have to admit, your mom's kimchi is something.
They have to, because you've got that terrifying bandana on. And they
Okay,
wouldn't
yes,
dare.
yes. And we're really protective with our moms, so I think we're a tight family, and that's our strength.
It's lovely to see.
I've got a very good first impression of this place. It's a very hospitable welcome. They've got a drink in my hand, some sake straight off. I got some kimchi, some Korean pickles, so I'm eating already. It's nicely decorated. It's not over the top. It's not twee. It's not made up. It's more like eating in Tokyo than anywhere I've ever eaten in Europe. You know, the signs are good.
I love gyoza more than anything. I love gyoza.
Okay, so they've got a lovely steamed dumpling, the brown underside where it's been stuck on the bottom of the pan, so it's steamed up, but it's got a slight grilled, woody flavour. Give it a little dip, see what it's like. Very good gyoza. Nice and chewy, not too soft. The pasta's quite firm, al dente. It's got a nice porky filling, a little bit of vegetable and spring onion, and a really nice sour vinegar. A wrong turn to the toilets leads me to the kitchen, and a surprise.
What the hell's that? Is that alive?
Yes,
It's alive?
Yes, it's alive.
It looks strangely familiar.
It's still moving.
It really is penis-like.
it's having a-
And what is it? It's a giant clam?
Yeah, it's they call it a king clam, but it's really good.
Is it good?
It's a delicacy.
And
in
what do you do? You
Japan.
peel it, you boil it, peel it, and then slice it?
Gino will show you.
It's hard to watch something quite this familiar being sliced.
It's still alive.
So am I.
And it's still moving. Not very fast, but it's still moving.
Dip it a little bit in soy sauce. You don't drench it.
And enjoy.
It's shrinking back at the wasabi.
Of course. What would you do in soy sauce?
I put too much wasabi.
Can you feel your cells popping in your brain?
I can feel my eyes
That's a
watering.
good sign.
Wow.
What about the taste?
It's kind of amazing. The texture is like rubber, isn't it? It's kind of rubbery texture, but then it yields, and you crunch through it, and it's like fish, but it's quite animally. It's like biting your own tongue in a way. It feels very human, you know? Like eating human flesh.
It's all about the texture.
The king clam was delicious, but anything that looks that much like a penis, I'm unlikely to eat twice. But where a ramen house must absolutely deliver is on the soup.
So this is our prize. This is the miso ramen.
Wow. Look at that.
This humble bowl of noodles could change the Hosaku's lives forever. The question is, will it measure up to $1 million review? This week, I'm in Quebec City, trying to stay warm amidst the locals' apparent love of all things winter. My researcher, Julia, has left me to fend for myself in this strange but beautiful place. Today, I'm dining at the family-run ramen restaurant Hosakuya. The gyoza were excellent. The king clam was terrifying,
What the hell's that?
albeit delicious. But what really counts is their ramen soup, and whether or not it's worth my $1 million review.
So this is our prize. This is the miso ramen.
Wow.
You
Look
have
at
the
that.
gyoza.
So there we've got the egg here. How come it's brown?
It's marinated.
Marinated. Cool. Pork, got some corn, we've got cress, nori seaweed, and some Japanese fish cake.
Now I'll see if their broth measures up, under Louis's watchful eye.
Very rich and nourishing, not too salty.
Like it?
It's great. It's delicious. Lovely. It's a tiny bit on the bland side. I had thought it would have a bit more depth.
This could be the deal breaker. Exceptional ramen means both elements in perfect union. This might be the most important bowl of soup they've ever made.
They're a little bit firmer than ramen normally are. Ramen normally have a very sort of unctuous bite. It normally fills your mouth. These are a little bit more like Italian pasta, a bit more like vermicelli.
So I have to ask myself, can a handful of excellent dishes plus some subpar ramen add up to $1 million review?
To have this kind of recognition from Giles, it would, yeah, it's a recognition on an international
Make us
scale.
cry. I'm proud.
Well, that is a perfect example of a lovely family-run restaurant. A place where the family is the atmosphere and a definite contender.
But whether or not it gets my $1 million review could depend on my next restaurant. So, Julia, your friend Patrice has me going now to a place called Feria Ketchup. It doesn't sound much like my sort of place. So what's this, a greasy spoon, is it?
No, La Feria Ketchup is a local saying that just means it's all good. And it will be all good when you go because the food's great. It's a really trendy place, but it's very casual. So definitely what you'd call a hipster restaurant.
Oh, a hipster restaurant. Skinny jeans, trendy spectacles, partings in their hair. Almost no idea about how to cook.
Don't poo-poo it before you try it. La Feria Ketchup is in Saint-Roch, and it might just be the hippest restaurant in Quebec City. It's got really young owners, it got a ton of hype when it opened, and it won a lot of awards. The restaurant doesn't really have a concept, but I'd call it extremely casual fine dining.
We always work for other people, and we want to work for ourselves. So we seize the little spaces here, and we just rent it and start our thing. We didn't know what will be the restaurant because
This type of restaurant.
it didn't exist in Quebec. So we're just we're gonna open it and see if people are ready.
People are ready, and the owners know it. They want La Feria Ketchup on the list of Quebec City's top restaurants, and they need your review to make that happen.
I really shouldn't have anything against hipster restaurants. Just because I'm getting old doesn't mean that I don't think young people shouldn't be doing new and interesting things with eating out. Looks like the only seat left is at the back of the house, close to the action in the kitchen.
Right, can I have a drink?
Yeah, we got a nice sparkling cider, a little bit bitter.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah, good.
But it's soon clear that this seat isn't so much close to the action as it is in the kitchen. And it's the least professional restaurant kitchen I've ever seen.
Do you think I'm a bit overdressed for your place?
I'm surrounded by hard-drinking hoodlums and mountains of dirty dishes.
Is there a menu or is it stuff on the board?
I have a menu, it's on the board, but we just think that we're just gonna bring you food and we're gonna take care of you.
Beginner chefs always make the mistake of going off-menu to serve me something special. I don't want anything special, I want to order off the menu.
Have you worked in restaurants before, or did you just...
Yeah, I was in Montreal before.
Do any of you guys actually know how to cook?
No.
So, nobody knows how to cook, it looks like a stinky student house, and the entire staff is drinking. This is more than casual. This is catastrophic.
Fascinating, fascinating. They may be cool, but I'll be very surprised if I get a plate full of anything I even recognise as food. How much beer do you get through in a night when you're working?
It depends.
What's the maximum?
It's impossible.
Chefs should never be drunker than I am. That's just showing off.
So,
Wow.
there you go. Scallops. With, I don't know, it's a white fish.
What is it in French?
It's a bal noir.
It's much more delicate than I'd have thought. That big strapping lad with the beard who's drunk a barrel of cider has put down this very delicate little scallop dish covered in foam. Surprising. Very, very salty. It's just the way you would expect a bloke who looks like him to cook a scallop. It's so salty I can feel my eyelids shriveling. And if I don't eat everything on my plate, I think they'll beat me to death. What am I going to get after this?
Let's do a little taste of everything. It's gonna be
Everything?
Don't worry. It's gonna be fine.
As a critic, this is a frustrating experience. I don't know how much food is coming, so I can't pace myself properly. I've got these hoodlums staring at me the whole time, and I think the worst thing you can possibly say to someone you're cooking for is, don't worry.
It's like a kind of fight club with food.
To be sitting at the bar with all these guys watching me so closely was unsettling. It's kind of like being in bed with your wife and knowing that there's a man at the end of the garden with a pair of binoculars watching you through the window. Also, the kitchen is a disgrace. It's messy, filthy, greasy. The whole place stinks. If these hipsters don't impress me with their next dish, I'm out of here.
Is this a viable business, or are you just having fun?
This week, I'm in Quebec City, eating at 5 restaurants, all hoping for my $1 million review. Tonight, I'm in the super hip neighborhood of Saint-Roch at La Feria Ketchup, and I'm disgusted by this supposedly fashionable restaurant run by a pair of drunken party boys. The lads are hitting the sauce hard, and the food has been subpar. I have every sympathy for these guys. I was all set up to enjoy it, and I'm not being snooty, and I don't want them to do anything different. I just want them to be cleaner, and I want them to take more care of their customers, and I want them to be sober, because that is the least you can do.
Is that sweetbread? Excellent.
So we got, right now, veal sweetbread over here, goose gizzard, elk tongue braised, some egg yolk.
These guys are really going to have to wow me with this plate.
And you've got sort of spices. What have you got in there? Like
The sweetbread are cooked in cream with vermouth.
amazing.
They did indeed wow me with their sweetbreads. Now, can they pull themselves together enough to produce 2 great dishes in a row?
Wow.
Alors ici, vous avez le pain brioché avec le poulet de Cornouailles.
You've got these kind of fancy heritage. Is that a tiny carrot? Is it amazing?
Yes,
Is this your own plate?
It's mine. Yes. Don't break it, please.
That's great. It's very juicy. This is just the sort of thing they should be doing. It's a beautiful plate and a beautifully cooked bird. So, you know, hats off to them, drunk as they are. This is great.
Looks like my boozy buddies may have turned things around.
Mackerel, and voila.
Wow.
Quinoa.
He's a handsome fellow.
Yeah, it's beautiful, eh? To make some herbs. Bon appétit.
You should eat a mackerel the day that it's caught, ideally within an hour. This fish looks like it was caught years ago. It's as old as I am, and has probably travelled just as far to be here.
It has the consistency of the stuffing from an old teddy bear, with a sort of slight sour, vomity taste from old vegetables that have been inside it. I mean, it's like something that's cooked by a 9-year-old on their first go. It's like something deliberately cooked for an English food critic to make him have bad dreams.
It's a shame they've lost focus on my meal, but it's not hard to see why.
Yeah, like people here says, we do our best and we take the puck where we want to have it. And
Overall, a talented chef, but wildly inconsistent.
It's clearly the coolest place in town. It's got bags of potential. Or is it just a load of drunk boys having fun? I really can't tell.
After spending a long night digesting old mackerel, I'm being sent out of the city by Julia to a popular sugar shack, Érablière Chemin du Roi. I haven't been in Quebec long enough to know whether the sugar shack is a tourist trap. A tourist trap is like any kind of trap, like a raccoon trap, where you put food inside something in the hope that somebody or something is going to venture in there, and before they realize that it's not something they want to eat, they're trapped. I'm here to engage in a classic Quebecois rite of passage, sugaring off, which celebrates the short but sweet maple syrup season. And it all starts with a big meal.
Say what you like about me in French, and I'll pretend I don't understand.
A menu of Quebecois classics: pea soup, meat pie, ham, eggs, and endless amounts of their own maple syrup.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's honest food that's designed to please the masses. It may not be elegant, but at least it's tasty. And apparently so is dessert, which you have to go outside to eat.
Well, if we're going to be outside, you should have a hat on.
This is the actual sugaring off portion of sugaring off, eating hot maple taffy on fresh snow.
It's not a subtle flavour, is it? It's quite hard in mittens, isn't it? If there's some elegant way I should have done it. Gilles, avec un seul L en anglais.
Avec un L.
Comme ça, pouf.
Wow!
What you're about to see is as close as you will ever get to me dancing. I have to admit, the Sugar Shack experience is a charming one, but I'm certainly not going to let Julia know that. Julia, how could you send me to the Sugar Shack? It's a tourist trap full of people dancing. It's my absolute worst nightmare. You either researched it badly or you sent me there as some sort of joke. Either way, you're fired.
Oh, stop it. You wanted to experience traditional Quebecois culture. It's not my fault they like to dance.
It is your fault they like to dance. I don't like anybody who likes to dance. Dancing does not go with food, but there's a reprieve in it, I suppose. If my next restaurant isn't any good, though, you really are toast.
You're going to Soup AC. They serve healthy soups and raw food.
Well, that's a good start. Soup is the most boring food on earth.
Well, try to keep an open mind. Soup AC is in the Limoilou neighborhood just northeast of downtown. It's got a cool Californian vibe, but their menu of healthy soups and raw food is a hard sell. Natasha Thériault offers a globe-trotting list of dishes soupified.
C'est un concept qui a été dans notre tête, puis là, on a dit, OK, on le fait go. Puis on avait une vieille coccinelle 1966 qu'on a vendue pour pouvoir ouvrir Soupe et compagnie.
Le concept, c'était de faire une chaîne, puis répéter ça dans plusieurs villes.
Giles is a person who tastes a lot of things in different countries, so this is a reference. And to have a great feedback from a reference, so of course, it's good for us.
Even in this icy climate, I'm having a hard time getting excited about soup. But there's a nice warm welcome at the door.
We have a great place here, if you want.
Then I'm given a very odd seat. Welcoming though this place is, anywhere that seats you on a log with no cushion gives the impression that it wants you to leave soon. Nice looking place. As expected, the menu features a hilarious number of soups, 15 to be exact, but much to my delight, it also features 15 tartars. I settle on the beef and the spicy Indian soup.
First time.
Wow. Well, this isn't really what I was expecting. I've got a plate which is covered in coriander and nuts, so I'm actually going to have to dig my meal out from under it. That's amazing. That is an enormous amount of raw beef. I'll give it a go. It's very, very sweet. You can really taste the nuts. You can taste the jam.
The tartare is delicious, but it's getting hard to concentrate on the food with all these beautiful women around.
Mais là, je suis gênée, là, hein? Parce qu'il est beau, hein? Tu vois?
She says she's a little shy because you're a little too handsome.
OK, Cynthia.
Wow, she says all the right things. I mean, you know, this is it. I don't need to see any more restaurants in Quebec. If I walk into a restaurant and someone tells me I'm handsome, that's basically it.
Regarde, Cynthia. Cynthia?
Yeah, she's lovely as well.
Yes.
So you sit here and eat raw beef while she parades her girls in front of you.
C'est mon
like a brothel
harem.
of the old Wild West. They're all going to start doing the can-can. I'm going to need this red meat. There is nothing like this in London.
Ici, c'est un tartare d'escolard.
Tartare, a raw discolard. C'est quoi? C'est un poisson?
Oui, blanc, très doux.
A soft white fish. Okay, so here I've got a kind of ice cream cone containing cubed raw fish, mango, mint, basil, various things. It's another thing that looks like sex food. You know, it's aphrodisiac. It's high in protein. It's low in carbohydrate. You're not going to fall asleep. It's kind of action food. That's great. It's very, very fresh fish, chopped up very fine, quite sweet again. And that's what makes it like aphrodisiac food. It's like Valentine's food. It's really good.
So far, I've enjoyed great food and service at Soup AC, but I've now been waiting a long time for my main course, and the longer I wait, the more I'm painfully reminded that I'm sitting on a log. My arse is starting to go numb, And if my soup doesn't get here soon, these ladies will be out of the running for my $1 million review, no matter how beautiful they are. This week, I'm in picturesque but awfully snowy Quebec City, on the hunt for just one restaurant worthy of my $1 million review. I'm at Soup AC. They serve me 2 excellent raw dishes.
That's great, chopped up very fine.
But the service has come to a screeching halt. My spicy Indian soup finally arrives. If it couldn't deliver on punctuality, it had better deliver on taste.
It smells amazing. So it's made from a good stock, a good rich chicken stock. There's curry powder which has been properly fried off first. They haven't just thrown it in afterwards. They've fried it in probably not ghee, which is what Indians use, which is a clarified butter. They've probably done it in vegetable oil. Peas in there, which are obviously frozen, but then that's fine. Frozen peas are better than fresh peas for cooking normally. It's a great, rich, light flavour, and the spice is not too much. You know, it hits you right on the tongue and then goes away instead of playing tricks with your mind.
On est les meilleurs fabricants de soupe au monde. Et c'est certain que ça goûtait l'amour.
We just hope that everything goes well. It was perfect since the beginning to the end. So we'll see.
Well, I like that place. It's very modern to do one thing and one thing very well. It's not the most comfortable place I've ever eaten, but the sexual innuendo more than makes up for that. A definite contender.
So it's onward and upward on the hunt for my next meal.
OK, well, it says here my next restaurant, Julia, is Panache. And after 3 very casual restaurants, I'm hoping that there's a clue in the name there that this place is a bit smarter.
Well, this restaurant's the opposite of casual. It's more upscale, more elegant. It's more of a traditional fancy restaurant. And the family that runs it has been in Quebec for over 200 years.
Ah, well, that's what you see. Tradition, snobbery, a bit of attitude. That's what I'm in the mood for now.
Perfect. Then the old town is calling your name. Panache is in the luxury hotel Auberge Saint-Antoine, right on the St. Lawrence River. They grow their own produce, have a 12,000-bottle wine cellar, and recently hired Parisian chef Louis Paquelin to take their menu to the next level.
Quebec City is a very competitive restaurant scene. There's a lot of pressure to keep us ahead of everybody, and so that we're an avant-garde place and we're not sitting back resting on our laurels.
Panache needs your review to let people know they're not just a fancy restaurant, but an international culinary destination.
Having somebody like Giles just adds to putting us on the broader map.
I have nothing against avant-garde cuisine, but it's a term that sets up certain expectations, and if a place fails to deliver on those, it can end up looking pompous and vain and silly. Hi, Mr. Price. Hello.
Giles, Evan Price.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
I do expect to be met by the owner when I walk in. It's very important.
Well, this is the place for that.
I'm far too important for just a waiter.
We have a new chef that's arrived from Paris.
So he's flown 5,000 miles to be here. I've flown 5,000 miles. We could have done this in Europe.
So would you like to have a glass of wine while you're eating?
I will have a glass of wine. You've got your choix du sommelier.
Yeah, I send you the sommelier to do that.
No. I'll just have one of these, yeah. Have you got any Canadian wine?
Of course.
I'll have a glass of Canadian white. I think it's a decent-looking place, isn't it? I mean, from a European point of view, it looks Swiss. It looks like I've just sort of skied here and I'm going to get a raclette or a fondue or something like that and be surrounded by people with broken legs. Hi.
How are you?
Marvellous.
Good.
How are you?
We'd like to suggest a Canadian wine from Saint-Eustache, Canadian. It's made with cepage grape village.
Cepage you have here?
Yes.
I asked the lovely young lady if I could have a glass of Canadian white wine, and I've got that.
The starter, which is the amuse-bouche, we call it. So you have a slice, which is a carpaccio of beef. Inside of the carpaccio as well, you have some sprouts as well, and the chips of potatoes.
Thank you very much.
Have a good start.
Great. You can see the skid mark school of presentation. I never like it that much. You put a blob there and then you thumb it across. But it is considered fashionable presentation.
An amuse-bouche is something that restaurants that think they're fancy give you because they've seen it on the TV. It's usually a lukewarm bowl of snot with some sort of foam on the top. Just the sort of thing that makes you wish you'd gone for a burger instead. It's called carpaccio because it's named after the painter, as everybody knows, the Italian Renaissance painter Carpaccio, 15th century. He used a lot of reds, and so they decided to name raw beef carpaccio when it was served as a dish. If it's been smoked, then it's not a carpaccio. Carpaccio has to be raw, and carpaccio should be bright red. And this is a sort of dark purple. This is strictly not a carpaccio. Luckily, I'm not a terrible ponce, so I won't take them up on that.
Continue with the lobster for you.
Way down there in the bottom of that dish. Okay, so that's classic restaurant critic experience number one, really. It's that I've ordered off the menu the cabbage soup. The chef, knowing that I'm in here, thinks, oh, we can't just give him a cabbage soup. So he's put some lobster in my cabbage soup. I am always right, so give me what I ordered. You know, I'm not having a representative experience, but I can't blame him. There is no getting away from the fact that what that is a cabbage soup with some pieces of lobster in it. As a critic, you often sense the owner hovering nearby. It does not in any way make the experience more enjoyable. Nor does being served plate after plate of things you didn't order. Ooh, what's that?
The chief wanted to serve you the yaourt of the foie gras. You're welcome.
This is starting to get on my nerves. The chef is not going to buy my $1 million review like this. So while I'm waiting for the pork, the chef wanted me to have a foie gras yogurt, which, you know, if he'd asked me, I'd have said I really, really didn't want. I choose things that I want, and then I eat them. And if you send out things that I haven't ordered, you're sending out things that I didn't want. And that's a mistake. This week, I'm in Quebec City, a 400-year-old European capital that just happens to be in Canada. I'm at Panache, a posh restaurant vying for a $1 million review that will put it on the world stage. But at this point, I think it's more pompous than pucker. It's understandable when a restaurant that knows I'm in there sends out free things that I didn't order because it thinks that it knows what it does best, and it thinks I'm going to be pleased to receive them. But it's wrong. You know when you leave your swimming trunks in the bottom of the bag after you've come back from swimming and you forget about it for a week and you come back and they smell a bit mushroomy? Oh, no, that's good. No, it's not. It's got chocolate in it. Wow.
So you have the pork. We serve you the pork flank, which is breast. On the top, you have a marmalade of endives.
This is the first plate of food I've had here that I genuinely asked for, which is a relief, because the main course is what it's all about. You know, actually, this boy can really cook. He's actually brought it back completely. He's not used belly, which is the most fashionable cut. He's used the flank. He's cooked it forever at a very low temperature, 57, 58 degrees, so that the collagen denatures, but the cell walls don't break down, so that you get a very unctuous flavour. A little bit of the cheek of the pig, which is great. The rhubarb marmalade, whatever it was, works really fantastically well. It's got a real kind of richness, and there's just enough acidity to make you, make you still feel alive. So this is brilliant. So, a couple of misses and one big hit. But is it enough to give them a real chance of earning my review?
We have all the pieces, and I think they were well presented to them. So, no question. I think we're right up there with one of the front runners for sure.
I've got to say, they tried a bit too hard, they got a bit nervous, but their heart was in the right place. The waitress was lovely, and some of the food was fantastic. And so my journey takes me to the final competitor, and then I'll have to decide which dining experience in Quebec City deserves my $1 million review, which could bump up their profits by $1 million. OK, Julia, well, look, I think I'm onto my last restaurant here, La Traite.
Yes, and this one's special for two reasons. Number one, it's a First Nations restaurant, which means you'll be eating food like seal. Do you like seal?
I've never had seal.
And the second reason why it's special is because you'll be dining with Ava Avila, who was the Quebecois winner of Canadian Idol Season 4.
Cool. Canadian Idol Series 4. I mean, I was a huge fan. It was massive in Britain. I was glued to every episode.
I'm sure you were. Anyway, La Traite is in Wendake, a First Nations reserve in the far west end of Quebec City. They're serving up a modern take on Indigenous ingredients.
It's a real challenge of keeping the menu as traditional as we can, and we have the responsibility to support development of the nations.
La Traite needs your review to bring their unique concept to a global audience.
A good review from Giles would mean a really good opportunity for us to being well known by the world.
Excellent. They have seal.
In every city, I like to eat with a local. And tonight, I'm dining with pop singer and Canadian Idol winner, Eva Avila.
Hi.
Giles,
How are you?
nice to meet you. Welcome to Quebec.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm a bit late.
No, please, don't worry about it.
I wouldn't normally leave a woman sitting on her own in a restaurant.
I have been to many sort of fine dining, molecular...
God, have you? You really are properly into food then?
Oh, God, yes.
As I'm in the company of a fellow foodie, I do my best to choose the dishes I'm least likely to find at home, which here is just about all of them.
So I have the smoked eel and trout, have the elk carpaccio, chuck it in with the other starters, and definitely seal. I like my seal very rare.
It's yes.
I was joking.
No choice of cooking is
Really?
rare, yes.
I've always had a principle when reviewing of ordering things from the menu that sound revolting, that come from the end of the food chain I don't usually visit, because I reckon that if a chef can make me enjoy them, he must be pretty good.
Excuse me. With our first course here.
Wow.
First up, the smoked eel and trout and the elk carpaccio. And they both look beautiful. But how will they taste?
So it's a little bit smoked. You can taste the smoke.
It's a little sweet.
It is. But they've both been smoked lightly, haven't they? But it's because it's not as fatty. It's taken the smoke in a slightly different way.
People imagine that having dinner with a restaurant critic is going to be informative, thrilling and sexy. But in fact, as I'm demonstrating to Eva, it is as boring as having dinner with any other tedious, self-obsessed, middle-aged man who loves the sound of his own voice.
You know, 3,000 years ago, man invented the knife. It was fine until about 1994, and then they started to mess with it, and you end up with this kind of thing. Look, its center point is sort of there, which is far too long on that end.
A good dinner companion knows not to be a bore. Avoid discussion of cutlery at all costs.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that smells really good.
I really didn't know what to expect with seal, because I've never eaten an amphibious mammal before. I guess I would have expected it to be white and blubbery with some red meat.
It looks very black, doesn't it? Is it going to be blubbery? Is it going to be... What bit of the seal is it? A seal is just a long tube of blubber with two eyes on the
We
front.
should have asked, no? What part of the seal?
What cut is it? I mean, it's not the leg, is it?
Is it the leg? Is it the stomach? Is it the back?
They don't have a leg. It's a sausage of fat with flippers on the thing.
Okay.
It's maybe quite challenging.
Let's go. Drum roll.
Oh my God, it's black. Do you know, it's completely rare and yet it's black.
Seriously, I'm so surprised by this color. I was expecting pink. Good luck.
I've spent the week eating my way through historic Quebec City, and tonight I'm having my first meal ever on a First Nations reserve. I'm at La Traite, a restaurant that desperately wants my $1 million review so that it can be known worldwide for its Indigenous cuisine, such as the seal chunk I've got speared on my fork.
It was very, very light.
Yeah.
You know, you put it in your mouth, you expect it to be dense, but it's fluffy. It's fluffy black meat. The aftertaste coming through now, it's really terrible.
No. Honestly, it's definitely unique. I can't think of anything else that I've tasted ever that has a similar taste or a similar flavor.
That's cool. I mean, cheers. I mean, congratulations on getting through that, because...
Congratulations. You sealed the deal. So what's the first thing you're going to tell your friends and family when they say, so you tried seal in Quebec? How was that?
A bit like walrus. I think that's my favorite joke. I think you should tell people it tastes like walrus. No, I think it tastes like death.
Oh my God.
It tastes like a small haunch of the devil's arse. I mean, it's in the cold, hard winters, carving an existence out here on the bleak, snowy escarpment, wearing furs and feathers and skins. You would be glad to eat that.
Absolutely.
So how's the meal? Very, very unusual.
We're probably one of the only restaurants downtown Quebec City who's offering seal's meat. That makes us pretty unique.
There's no question that that guy can cook, but he's cooking seal, he's cooking elk, he's cooking First Nation food that we used to eat 4,000 years ago, and there's a reason that we don't eat it anymore today.
Before I decide which restaurant will get my $1 million review, I have one last dish I have to tackle. That infamous poutine. It's basically a big pile of chips with curd cheese and gravy. And so, with my stomach full of Quebec City, it's time to decide which of the 5 restaurants deserves my $1 million review.
Hello.
Hey, Giles, are you at breakfast?
Just got up, had a shower, beginning to think about who might get my review.
Well, let's go over the options.
Okay, Hosakuya, they were lovely boys. They were trying to cook their mother's cooking. Great ramen noodles, very rich and nourishing, not too salty.
And what about La Feria Ketchup?
Yeah, the drunken hipster place. I mean, great fun can be had there, and I'm sure often is, but just mostly by the staff. So I eliminated those boys.
What'd you think of Soup AC?
It was quite simple food, just soup and something raw, but it was all good when it came. And the waitresses were lovely. There is nothing like this in London. And yeah, they're in with a chance, definitely.
What about Panache?
Not the kind of place I always feel the most comfortable, but the cook knew what he was doing. Actually, this boy can really cook, but very rare for me to order a glass of white wine and get brought a glass of red wine.
And what about La Traite?
A First Nations restaurant ought to be in with a chance of getting my review because there will not be anything like it anywhere else in the world. I've never eaten First Nations food. I think it tastes like death.
Oh my God.
It was fantastic, I had good fun, and some of the cooking was good, so they could win. Yeah, it could be them.
Sounds like you've got some writing to do.
And if I'm to sort through my thoughts and decide finally on a place that merits a $1 million review, I'm going to need breakfast.
Can I have that fried bread with the, what's that, with the egg? Is that, what's it called? Is that French toast?
French toast?
Where he was making something with bread where he soaked in an egg and
French
then...
toast.
Do you, yeah? Is that what you call it, French toast?
Yeah,
or do you just call it toast?
No, pain doré.
Pain doré. That's amazing. I know what I like and what I don't like. But after eating in all these restaurants, it's actually turning out to be rather difficult to compare which one is the best.
It could be worth $1 million in business. Who will get my review? It's the moment of truth. My review is written, and today it goes live in the Huffington Post. Whose life will it change? Will it be La Traite? Hosakuya? Soup AC? Or Panache? I chose Soup AC because the concept is original, modern, healthy, and chic. It's beautifully realised, the regulars adore it, the atmosphere is fun, and there's a fantastic feeling of family.
Et je m'attendais pas à gagner ce prix-là parce qu'il y a tellement des bons restaurants dans la province de Québec. Je pense que ça va m'apporter des portes, encore plus de portes. Je vais être connue probablement plus à l'international. Je suis dans mon petit monde à Québec. Mais là, j'imagine que ça va m'ouvrir des portes à Toronto, des portes à New York, des portes à Los Angeles. Tu sais, il y a tellement des bons grands restaurants, mais le mien est encore meilleur que les autres!
It doesn't have the most sophisticated menu, it doesn't have the slickest service, but it has so much love behind it. It gives you such a greeting when you go in. It wants you to have a good time more than anything else. I left feeling great, and I'm desperate to go back. And that's the best thing you can say for any restaurant. Soup AC deserves my $1 million review.